Bob Newhart's death certificate listed natural causes, but those close to him knew that his last year held more complexities than anyone realized. In the months before he passed, he experienced unusual moments that concerned his family. There were phone calls in the middle of the night that no one could explain, conversations with people who weren't there, and moments of confusion that frightened those around him. At first, his children thought these episodes were part of the grief following the loss of his wife, Jenny. Yet the truth was more serious. Bob was facing health and cognitive challenges that were quietly reshaping his life. These experiences remind us that even the most seemingly ordinary lives can carry unseen struggles. While the public may remember him for his calm, deadpan humor, his family witnessed a side that was vulnerable and human. This delicate balance between his public persona and private struggles makes his story compelling. For decades, Newhart had been a symbol of clever, gentle comedy. He created laughter out of ordinary situations, showing audiences that humor could be soft yet deeply impactful. His quiet approach contrasted with loud, brash comedians, giving him a unique place in American entertainment. Yet, even someone so skilled in timing and delivery could not control the natural decline that comes with aging. His family, friends, and fans saw the end approaching not as a sudden shock, but as a period of slow adjustment. Despite these challenges, he maintained dignity and a sense of humor, reminding everyone that even in difficult times, grace can coexist with struggle. Understanding his final year allows us to appreciate not only his comedic genius, but also his resilience, character, and humanity. Bob Newhart was born on September 5, 1929, in a small room at West Suburban Medical Center in Oak Park, Illinois. Oak Park was a quiet suburb west of Chicago, where long streets and simple homes shaped a child's sense of safety and comfort. His mother, Julia, was Irish at heart and had a natural gift for storytelling, filling the home with humor and warmth. His father, George, ran a plumbing supply business and brought a practical, hard-working perspective to family life. Bob was one of 4 children, growing up with 3 sisters, Virginia, Mary Joan, and Pauline. Because he shared his father's name, he was simply called Bob. In his early years, Oak Park remained a significant part of his life, shaping his worldview and sense of community. He attended St. Catherine of Siena Grammar School, a Catholic institution where rules and discipline were woven into daily life. While these expectations could be strict, they also provided structure that influenced his later work ethic. Outside school, he discovered a love for theater, joining the Edmund Players, a youth theater group run by his parish. Bob quickly learned how to hold an audience, even at a young age, without raising his voice, a skill that would later define his comedic style. At home, Julia's Irish tales and playful turns of phrase created a mental playground where Bob began to understand timing, character, and the power of words. He absorbed humor as instinctively as a sponge absorbs water. At the same time, the realities of the Great Depression touched his family's life. His father's plumbing business struggled, money was scarce, and Bob witnessed firsthand the stress that financial insecurity could cause. These experiences gave him a grounded perspective that stayed with him even after fame. Oak Park was more than a backdrop. It was the foundation of his humor. The small, ordinary moments of life in his childhood, the stories, the neighborhood routines, the joys and hardships, became the palette from which he would paint his comedy. His early life illustrates how simplicity and observation can lead to extraordinary creativity. From a young age, Bob Newhart demonstrated a unique sense of humor. He loved jokes, wordplay, and the subtle twists of everyday life. Acting in local theater productions, such as Peon and The Wizard of Oz, he developed stage presence and learned how to hold the attention of an audience without raising his voice. Around the age of 10, he discovered the radio shows of Fair McGee and Molly and the Jack Benny program, imitating voices and timing for his family. These early experiences sharpened his instincts and trained him in rhythm, timing, and delivery. Comedy, he learned, could be subtle, quiet, and still immensely effective. Meanwhile, his father's emphasis on stability encouraged Bob to pursue conventional paths. He attended Loyola University, studying business and accounting, and later worked in accounting and advertising. Despite this practical career path, he continued to create small comedic sketches for friends, performing routines and recording bits just for fun. These small efforts were seeds that would grow into a professional career. Bob's observations of ordinary life became a central pillar of his comedy. His ability to notice the small, often overlooked moments and turn them into humor made his work relatable. Unlike slapstick or exaggerated performances, his comedy reflected reality in a way that audiences could instantly recognize. Even his early experiences of stammering and pauses in speech, such as during a classroom mock debate about Abraham Lincoln, became tools rather than obstacles. The way he could transform nervousness or uncertainty into comedy foreshadowed the signature style he would perfect as an adult. These foundational years remind us that great comedians often start with curiosity, patience, and careful attention to human behavior. Bob Newhart's professional comedy career began in Chicago nightclubs in 1959. His first routine, the driving instructor bit, immediately resonated with audiences. What made his performances stand out was not just the content but the structure. He created half of the conversation and let the audience fill in the rest. This interactive style engaged listeners directly, making them active participants. Early recognition came quickly. He received standing ovations and eventually drew the attention of New York clubs and Warner Brothers. His first comedy album, The Button-Down Mind of Bob Newhart, recorded live at a small Houston club, became an instant success. By 1960, it reached the #1 spot on the Billboard Mono Action Albums chart, remaining there for 14 weeks. The album sold over 600,000 copies in its first year, eventually surpassing 1 million. Such success was unprecedented for a comedy album, establishing Newhart as a leading figure in American entertainment. The album's gentle humor, clever observations, and calm delivery captured the public's imagination, proving that comedy did not need to be loud or brash to succeed. Following this, his second album, The Button-Down Mind Strikes Back, climbed to the #1 position as well, pushing the first album to #2, a rare achievement in the industry. Critics praised Newhart's clean, sophisticated approach, showing that wit, subtlety, and timing could compete with pop music and dominate cultural conversation. Alongside record-breaking sales, he faced some controversies. Comedian Shelley Berman accused him of borrowing ideas for his telephone routine, but Newhart calmly explained that comedic ideas often evolve over time. By addressing the issue with humility and perspective, he earned respect from peers and historians alike. These early milestones set the stage for his decades-long career and shaped the comedy landscape for generations. After conquering the world of comedy albums, Bob Newhart turned his attention to television, a medium that demanded a new rhythm and presence. In 1961, NBC launched The Bob Newhart Show, a primetime program that blended sketches with monologues, giving viewers a glimpse of his clever humor on screen. Despite winning awards such as an Emmy for Outstanding Comedy Series and a Peabody Award, the show faced challenges. High production costs and inconsistent ratings led to its cancellation after just 27 episodes. While the cancellation disappointed fans, it demonstrated the realities of television at the time. Even brilliant concepts could struggle if they didn't meet network expectations. For Newhart, this early experience highlighted the differences between live performance and scripted television. The spontaneity he had perfected in nightclubs did not always translate easily to the rigid structures of TV production. Nevertheless, his talent for subtle, observational comedy was undeniable. He continued to explore television through appearances on other programs and specials. One notable venture was a Canadian pay-per-view special in 1962, An Evening with Bob Newhart. In it, he performed sketches that pushed the boundaries of live comedy on television. Technical problems, including a nationwide broadcast blackout, threatened to derail the experiment, but Newhart's calm presence and quick thinking allowed the performance to succeed despite the obstacles. Audiences, critics, and colleagues alike recognized his ability to adapt. Through these experiences, he learned a crucial lesson. Television demanded patience, precision, and the space to let humor breathe. Unlike his live performances, which thrived on audience interaction, television required careful timing, editing, and sensitivity to the camera. Newhart's commitment to maintaining his natural voice, rather than succumbing to exaggerated humor, set him apart from other comedians navigating the pressures of network television. His approach was deliberate. He understood that forcing laughs or overcomplicating routines could undermine the authenticity of his humor. Even when networks pressured him to introduce changes, such as louder, more exaggerated comedy or conventional storylines, he stayed true to his principles. This dedication paid off when CBS later launched The Bob Newhart Show in 1972, a sitcom that would become one of the defining programs of his career. In this show, he played Dr. Robert Hartley, a psychologist married to Emily, played by Susan Pleshette. Filmed in front of a live audience, the series combined clever dialogue, relatable characters, and gentle humor. It remained on air for 6 seasons with 142 episodes, cementing Newhart's reputation as a master of subtle comedy. The show stood out during an era dominated by broad humor, proving that intelligence and wit could resonate with mass audiences. By allowing characters to breathe and stories to unfold naturally, Newhart's approach to television became a model for how quiet, thoughtful humor could guide an entire program. Beyond the screen, small behind-the-scenes moments reflected his philosophy. Marcia Wallace, who played the receptionist Carol Custer, often brought her dog to rehearsals. Newhart would test new jokes on the dog, using its reactions as a subtle gauge for timing. These small rituals illustrate his attention to detail, respect for the craft, and belief that humor arises organically from observation, patience, and care. By the mid-1970s, Bob Newhart had firmly established himself as a television and comedy icon, but he continued to make choices that reflected his commitment to authenticity and subtle humor. On The Bob Newhart Show, he resisted pressure from producers to introduce conventional plot devices, such as pregnancy storylines, which were often used to boost ratings. While networks believed that including a pregnancy would add drama and attract viewers, Newhart felt it would compromise the show's tone. He wanted the program to remain focused on adult conversations, relationships, and the nuanced humor that had made it beloved. This insistence on maintaining a quiet, intelligent comedy distinguished the show from others airing during the same period. For instance, while other sitcoms relied on exaggerated physical comedy or slapstick situations, Newhart relied on timing, pauses, and understatement. He allowed situations to unfold slowly, giving viewers space to appreciate subtlety. Small details often carried significant comedic weight. Behind the scenes, cast interactions reflected the same philosophy. For example, Marcia Wallace, who played the receptionist Carol Custer, brought her dog to rehearsals, and Newhart would test new lines on the animal. If the dog yawned, it often indicated that the joke needed refinement. These rituals highlight his careful approach to humor. He observed reactions closely and adjusted timing, tone, and delivery to maximize subtle impact. Even his cast members absorbed his methodology, learning that patience, observation, and natural reactions were often more effective than loud laughter or forced punchlines. By preserving the integrity of the show's tone, Newhart created a unique environment where comedy felt authentic rather than manufactured. This approach extended beyond plot lines and rehearsal techniques. Newhart was deliberate about the characters he portrayed. He chose to embody calm, reflective personalities, often the straight man in everyday situations, allowing humor to emerge naturally from interactions rather than exaggerated gags. His wife on the show, Emily Hartley, played by Susan Pleshette, often served as a foil, highlighting his understated style. Together, they formed a balance that allowed humor to feel realistic, relatable, and timeless. Even as networks suggested changes to appeal to wider audiences, Newhart's insistence on maintaining a consistent comedic voice became a hallmark of his career. This dedication had lasting effects. Viewers connected with his characters because they felt grounded in real human behavior. Newhart's philosophy demonstrates that comedy is not solely about laughs per minute. It's about trust between performer and audience, careful observation of human behavior, and a commitment to honesty in storytelling. Through these decisions, Newhart not only protected the integrity of his work, but also shaped a standard for smart, understated comedy that influenced future generations. His success proved that humor did not need to be loud or sensational to resonate. It could be quiet, thoughtful, and deeply human, and still leave a lasting impact. Outside of the spotlight, Bob Newhart lived a life centered on family, loyalty, and curiosity. In January 1963, he married Virginia Jenny Quinn, whom he met through comedian Buddy Hackett. Their marriage lasted 60 years, a remarkable testament to love, commitment, and partnership in an industry often marked by fleeting relationships. Together, they raised 4 children, Robert, Timothy, Jennifer, and Courtney, in Los Angeles, providing a home grounded in stability despite the chaos of Hollywood. Newhart often emphasized that family was more important to him than fame or accolades. Their children grew up seeing their father succeed professionally while remaining humble and present at home, a balance that is rare in show business. In addition to his immediate family, Newhart developed deep friendships that lasted decades. His bond with Don Rickles, for instance, spanned over 50 years, and their camaraderie was filled with pranks, jokes, and genuine affection. The two comedians often entertained each other's families, demonstrating that humor could forge long-lasting personal connections beyond the stage or screen. While his family life brought joy, Newhart also faced serious health challenges later in life. In 1985, years of smoking caught up to him, and he developed secondary polycythemia, a rare condition where the body produces too many red blood cells, putting him at risk for life-threatening complications. The severity of the condition, doctors likened his nosebleeds to a reverse form of leukemia, forced him to quit smoking immediately. At 56, he embraced lifestyle changes, including quiet walks through the Vermont countryside during filming, which helped rebuild his strength and added decades to his life. These walks were more than physical therapy. They became meditative moments that allowed him to reflect, recharge, and maintain the calm presence that defined both his personal and professional life. Professionally, Newhart continued to take risks while maintaining his signature style. In 1992, he returned to sitcoms with Bob, playing cartoonist Bob McKay. The series initially attracted nearly 20 million viewers, but quickly struggled in ratings, eventually falling to 74th place. Critics, however, praised his writing and performance, noting that his humor remained sharp, gentle, and true to his voice. CBS attempted adjustments, including format changes and adding Betty White, but Newhart remained steadfast in preserving the integrity of his work. Even in smaller roles, he continued to bring depth and nuance to characters, demonstrating a rare ability to blend comedy with subtle emotion. In 2013, at age 84, he finally received his first Emmy for his role as Professor Proton on The Big Bang Theory, a character that combined sadness, humor, and warmth in a performance that delighted fans and critics alike. His continued activity in the entertainment industry into his later years illustrates both resilience and dedication. Newhart's life reminds us that true creative talent is not confined to youth or early success. It can flourish across decades when paired with discipline, insight, and a commitment to authenticity. Bob Newhart passed away on July 18, 2024, at his Los Angeles home at the age of 94, marking the end of a remarkable life that shaped American comedy for decades. His passing prompted an outpouring of love and respect from fans, colleagues, and public figures. President Joe Biden issued a statement honoring Newhart's contribution to entertainment, highlighting how his gentle humor and precise timing transformed the world of comedy. Co-stars and friends, including Carol Burnett, Betty White, and many others, shared memories of a man who combined professionalism with kindness, generosity, and a quiet sense of humor that never sought the spotlight for its own sake. The impact of Newhart's work was visible not only in tributes, but also in public commemoration. Chicago, a city that had been central to his early life and career, honored him by renaming a portion of Sheridan Road as Bob Newhart Way in September 2025, near the building associated with The Bob Newhart Show. His children attended the ceremony, sharing stories that captured both his humor and the importance of family. The tribute reflected the city's recognition of his journey from a quiet child in Oak Park to one of television's most respected comedians. Beyond physical memorials, Newhart's legacy lives in the countless comedians, writers, and actors he inspired. His approach to comedy, emphasizing patience, observation, and subtlety, set a standard for intelligent humor that continues to influence performers today. Comedians often cite his timing, careful use of pauses, and understated delivery as examples of how to craft jokes that resonate across generations without relying on exaggeration or loudness. Newhart's contributions also extend to the preservation of comedy as a form of social commentary. Through routines like his telephone sketches, which have been studied and admired for decades, he demonstrated how humor can examine human behavior, relationships, and societal norms without losing warmth or accessibility. In addition to influencing comedy, Newhart's longevity and adaptability stand out as remarkable features of his career. He successfully transitioned across multiple media, live performance, recordings, television, and film, while remaining consistent in his voice and style. From his first nightclub performances to late career appearances in Young Sheldon and Hot in Cleveland, he maintained a balance of cleverness, humility,